Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 597 of Space Geek, talking about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We're going to ruin a beloved childhood memory for me, and we're going to do it today with Chris DeBona.
Hi.
Nate Ostendorp.
Hello.
And Rob Roseboom.
Hello.
So we've talked about this in the past, but I have a long history of only watching or of all the VHS tapes of my childhood being the crappy second one.
I think you were abused as a child. Given the movies that you come up with, I think that they only let you buy from that little bargain bin with the tapes with like parts cut out
Chris,
of them.
I'm not even trying. I haven't even gone to the archive of made-for-TV, like recorded on VHS at 7 o'clock on Sunday night movies. Those are so much worse.
Now, this is a movie I actually went to the theater to see.
Wow.
And
you were betrayed.
And at the time, I remember thinking, well, that wasn't as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Nope.
But you know, I filed it away in my memories as just the worst of the Indiana Jones movies. But this movie is terrible. Let's be clear. This is an awful movie.
All right. Well, I'll fight you on terrible. But
all right. You'll be wrong.
All right. Well, but I'm not gonna make a case for it being a good film. I will make a case for it having some of the tightest action sequences that you will ever see.
Yeah, but you know, the Hobbit chase scenes don't impress me.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, how many thousands of chase scenes are there? I understand this is an iconic one, but that a movie does not make.
For sure. For sure. This movie it's 1984. It's contemporaneous with Return of the Jedi. And I think that you see in both of these movies, you see George Lucas having too much control and basically turning movies into roller coaster rides. And in the case of this movie, he literally turns 5 or 10 minutes at the end into a roller coaster ride.
I believe it's turning a roller coaster ride into a movie at the end there.
Well, what it is if you were playing a video game, this is a side quest. This entire movie is a side quest.
Yep.
None of it was on purpose. All of it happens by accident as the guy's trying to get on the main plot. Yeah. That's the problem with this movie. And that Molaram is not the villain. She is. She is the worst person in the world.
Kate Capshaw.
Yes.
Yeah. She's a monster.
Yeah. Who is eclipsing the title card.
Okay. She is the ugly American personified.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And they do it. I mean, okay, if you want to take it at that level, like Indy is respectful in many places. Like he's honestly trying. She's horrible. There are a ton of moments in this film where he is trying.
Wait,
to do
okay.
right.
I'm going to say one word in defense. Well, a couple words in defense of Cape Capshaw. Her character is awful.
I think she performs the hell out of the part.
But she performs the part. She does what she is scripted to do. Yeah. So I think that I'm going to say horrible things about her character.
Willie.
But I think Kate Capshaw, she sends it. You know?
So here's the title card.
She really owns the horribleness that is Willie.
This is Willie's introduction, and the first thing, and I remember this vividly as a kid, hating the compositing or however they superimposed her over the logo because it just looks weird. And there's actually a number of shots. I didn't like time code them all, but there are a number of shots that the VHS copy that I watched as a child covered up the fact that the effects were pretty cheesy. Like there's a lot of stuff that's hand-drawn animation. There's a lot of, but that said, there are a ton of really gorgeous analog composited shots in this, and I think that's really cool. But I did just want to note that all of the Indiana Jones movies start with a fade in on the Paramount logo where it turns into something in the scene, and that's a hallmark of the series, and I love it to this day.
I also noted the Star Trek font.
Yep. There's actually, I should dig it up. There's a really good video on just the fonts of Star Trek and how they changed over time.
No, I'm telling you, if you did not show the title card and you just gave me this movie, I'd be like, this is a weird Star Trek movie. This
right? What got like the first thing that I noticed when I was watching this is that these dancers are not in the scene. Like, this is a completely separate dance troupe that's just
it's
shot.
A different stage. It's a different country.
It has nothing to do with it. Oh, and this
isn't even in China.
Written by Willard Huck and Gloria Katz, most famously known as the writers of Howard the Duck. So you know you're in for a good time.
Howard was better.
Well, that's true.
Oh, okay. I have a note here. You have to let it play for 6 seconds. Wait. Keep going. And
you like the backwards?
And what I wanted to say is that it was actually Christopher Nolan watching this movie that inspired Tenet.
Dude, I have a Tenet joke later.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
okay, good.
That's awesome.
All right. Okay, stop. Don't hit play yet. All right. So watch the ribbons. Hit play for 3 seconds. They all came together as one piece. What kind of continuity crap is this?
Well, and also, how is she even there? Because she wasn't in the same room. Because then they're gonna cut back to the other stage. Did she?
There's so many things like this in this movie.
So she was in the dimension of dance, performing for no one, and then burst back forth into the Club Obi-Wan.
Club Obi-Wan.
All right.
So obvious pandering.
Well, that seems almost fair.
So this bothered me because I was reading through the Wikipedia page and I read that they made it a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I've probably seen this movie a half dozen times. I had no idea it was a prequel, but here it is, the one thing that you need to know to make it a prequel, that it's 1935.
Yep. Well, I guess maybe just his taste in women has improved as the second movie rolls around. Yeah, I knew this movie was a prequel, and I always thought it was really weird, but also, I think in my mind, I used the fact that this was a prequel to justify the fact that maybe episode 1 would be cool.
Episode 1 of what?
There's only one
Star
episode
Wars?
1, Chris.
No, those didn't. No, let's
right.
keep going. I can't think about
archaeologist.
famous.
Well, I thought archaeologists were always funny little men searching for their mommies.
Mummies.
His look at the camera in that shot, he gives an eye wink to the camera, and my note on this is that Harrison Ford is a leading man. And like he is so locked in to what this character is doing. And it's just fantastic. And he has just 100 looks like this. Also, I cannot, to this day, use a lazy Susan at a dining table without thinking of this scene.
You know what? I was going to write that exact same thing, and I was like, maybe someone else will talk about it. I don't need to layer it down with notes.
That's right.
And you delivered.
I did.
Mr. Mullen.
Wow. He put
Look at that classic. Okay. So my note is twofold. First of all, I was cheered that so if you've been to Skywalker Ranch, one of the things that's very real about Lucasfilm was their attention to detail. They had costumes and fashion going back hundreds of years on display, books about old weapons, books about old clothing. I mean, it's an incredible installation, right? So we both have an incredibly accurate coupe cup for the champagne. And then she says that her dress came from Paris, because we let it play for 3 seconds. She says, this came from Paris, right?
My dress from
you don't
Paris.
have to. Yeah. But
he put 2 holes in my dress from Paris.
No sequins were that size in Paris for another 30 years. It's an astonishing mistake.
By
Lucasfilm.
I'm embarrassed.
I'm sorry. Vionnet. So the implication, if it's a 30s dress from Paris, it means that Madame Vionnet made this dress, right? And her sequins were like smaller than the teeniest little fish scales. They were beautiful and they were very sparingly used. This sort of trashy pageant outfit wouldn't happen until the 50s or 60s.
If that upsets you, just wait till we get to the crocodiles.
Well,
that
I'm waiting
really
for your
crocodiles.
Yeah, on the lizards. So let's keep going.
This Narachi's a real small guy.
I love that line. I just love this. Like, she's so dumb.
Well, this is the thing. Kate Capshaw absolutely nails the character who is the worst, horrible villain in the movie, as Rob says.
This time, Indy, I followed you on many adventures into the great unknown mystery. I go first, Indy.
So this line for me as a kid registered so hardcore for two reasons. First of all, we don't know anything about this dude except he's the sidekick who showed up and helped out. But obviously, the two of them have had a long-standing bromance. And then this just like, I go first, this happy delivery. As a kid, man, that hit me.
Yeah, it just makes me think what a shitty boss he must be.
Right?
They're like, thank God I'm gonna die.
So what follows then is the sequence. He poisons, Indy drinks the poison, and the diamonds get kicked around. And so basically from the moment this action sequence starts until basically they get onto the airplane is just perfect Spielberg action. There is not a lot of wasted frames. The jokes are whether or not you think the jokes are funny or not, it is perfectly
they
paced.
Exist.
It is perfectly paced. I love this sequence.
Here's the thing. What happens in the sequence is going to happen over and over and over again as you get this sort of like zany, layering of crazy crap.
None of this is unique or innovative.
Well,
it's the same schlock that you get over and over again in these kind of movies.
It's worth pointing out, in the 80s, this would have been at most an homage to like those wacky French hotel comedies, where people are going in one door and coming out the other. So he's trying to evoke that sort of crazy, wacky, zany, and it's like, it's just
it is
crap.
Tight action. It all works. This 15 minutes, if you look at our notes, almost half of our notes for this movie are in this sequence.
Oh my goodness.
And I think it's because this sequence actually is good.
I think it's because most of the notes are from you.
Oh, well, that's good too.
That's why I think so many are in this sequence, because they're from you.
Fair enough. Did I miss it? Oh, the everything about the gong. Oh, the gong guy is just standing there, and that always bothers me. Like, through huge portions of this scene, there's just a man standing next to the gong wearing no shirt.
He's not wearing shoes either. Okay, so at 10:27, like let it play for like a second. All right. So you'll notice that Willie is in front of the gong, and then at 10:27, she's behind the gong, and 10:29, she's in front of the gong, and then after that, she's back behind the gong.
Yep.
And I'm like, this magical space-time teleporting gong is not doing me any favors.
It's powerful.
So, that's all I have to say.
They fall from an airplane in a boat.
They do.
Oh no, they should have been tomato paste.
There it is. We are in Club Obi-Wan.
Pandering.
As on the nose as you can be, Mr. George Lucas.
He's such a panderer.
This is the first time that he has too much control.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And now here's the kid. Ugh.
Short round. Step on it.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potatoes.
Yep. And there's the mistake that you would have thought that Lucas would have looked at this and said, you know what? Steven Spielberg, in 1984, arguably the best director alive, putting kids in movies. And this was the best he could do. Maybe I shouldn't put a kid in episode 1.
No, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. He watched this and said, this is totally working. Short Round is a huge hit. Every kid in the theater loves him. I'm going to put in 1 billion Ewoks. Yeah. That's what he learned. He didn't learn that this was a mistake. He learned that this was a wild success.
Fair enough.
I will say the kid driving scene particularly piqued my imagination at age 7 or whatever I was when this movie came out, and I was like, that is so awesome. He's got blocks on his feet and he's like doing a car chase through Shanghai.
Hey, Dr. Jones, no time for love.
There we go.
No time for love.
That tells you everything you need to know.
No time for sexual assault.
In this racist,
he might die.
misogynist movie.
But honestly,
holy cow.
How many times did you hear "No time for love," Dr. Jones, as you went through school?
Absolutely.
I heard it a million times, you know?
So she burns her finger, drops the gun.
Where's my gun? Where's my gun?
I burnt my fingers and I cracked a nail.
She is horrible.
I could not wait to kill her in a zombie apocalypse, you know, because she's the kind of person that would get everybody murdered.
Yeah. Convenience, as you will be riding on a cargo full of live poultry.
Okay, so Dan Aykroyd cameo.
Yep.
Number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, chicken as air cargo.
Muppets.
Like, what? Under what circumstances do you need to get chickens someplace so fast that you fly them anywhere?
Yeah, I felt that was a little off. Now, what was funny is when I saw that this was the Pan Am Air Terminal, but they were getting into a Ford Tri-Motor, I was suspicious of their research. So that sank me down like a Wikipedia rat hole. And it turns out that Pan Am indeed in 1933 took a 40% share of the Chinese National Aircraft Corporation, CNAC. And that's a CNAC terminal. And CNAC operated what under license? The manufacturer of Ford Tri-Motors for the Chinese market. I'm like, Lucasfilm research. All right. You know?
Bam.
So, yeah.
And it's, of course, the Lao Che plane.
Right.
Thus,
so you know something bad's going to happen.
Thus finishing the joke.
So those guys couldn't just turn around and shoot them now that they're inside.
Right.
Now they have to have this elaborate plan where they fly for hours.
And then parachute out.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to be, a lion tamer?
I'm allowing you to tag along.
So he's a lion tamer, which of course they pay off then in the next one, where they have the young Indiana Jones whip himself after he sees the lion in the train.
What does SSS 30 mean?
Oh, I was just telling myself that I can skip through like a lot of scenes.
Bum, ba-dum, bum,
because this is of course the time where I would play the copyright forbidden music, Indiana. But we see
Superman theme too.
Yeah, pretty close. Except Superman goes Superman, and Indiana goes Indiana. They're almost.
Well, no, it's this Star Wars and Superman. Like if you have one of them in your head, you can't remember the other two. It's like a brain thing. Anyway,
you're not wrong.
Oh, Mr. Wait, please. You call him Dr. Jones. Oh. Okay.
There it is. 8-year-old me thought that was the best, and I know it's horrible. 8-year-old me thought that was the best, but it is worth pointing out, and I think it's really well executed throughout this film, whether you like it or not, and I can understand why you wouldn't. The way that the kid echoes things in dialogue and in performance, like he is enraptured by Indy, and he is his little follower on, and whether or not you like it or not, he's going for a thing, and I like it.
Let's not beat around the bush. This is supposed to resemble a nuclear family. So this is really a family adventure here.
Right. There you go.
Sure.
Shrill mom, annoying child just acting like dad.
No, this is mom and dad banter. Like that's what it is.
There's no time for mom and dad, Dr. Jones.
Doll. I just love there's 100 points in this movie where the kid does something that's directly a mimicry of Indiana, and I just find that to be just adorable. But they know what they're doing. They're placing you know, the child viewer into these parts, which is so weird given the stuff that comes up in the second act. Ugh.
Yeah. Collective sigh, right?
Yeah.
So my kids literally walked in for one scene of this movie, and it was this scene, and they were like, "That's stupid."
Yeah.
Your kids are right.
Yep.
This is almost as stupid.
Hate this movie. I think this is when I posted on the channel how much I hate you, and I hate this movie.
I'll take it.
So basically, what I call this the first refrigerator of the Indiana Jones canon, right? It's like this, they should not be alive. They should have been turned into tomato paste. They should be dead.
For sure.
But no, that because they got away with it this time, they threw them in a freaking lead-lined refrigerator as if that was a thing.
This just go a little bit, but the compositing on the scenes where you see them up front is just bad. Like
it's
that.
Interesting.
Yep.
There's a lot of shots where they composite, and sometimes it's to fit them in a big matte painting, and sometimes it's to put them in an action sequence, and they don't all work. But it's 1984. They're doing
Totally.
this,
I get
way
it.
more than most movies did. And now, I mean, Jesus, you make a movie and 80% of it is shot on a screen like this. If you make a movie like this. Oh boy, now's where the movie gets rough.
So I did find it interesting. This was a bit of trivia from Wikipedia that, you know, they did not get any sort of permission to film in India because the whatever bureau in India that they had to get approval from said the script was offensive, and that you know, the idea that there would be a Maharaja and there were a bunch of things that they found objectionable, and 30 years on, doesn't age well.
Really from here to the end of the movie, the word problematic can't be capitalized bigger.
That's more food than these people eat in a week. They're starving.
I'm sorry. You can have it.
She's horrible. And also, this reminds me of so many dinners with my children. Just eat this. You have to eat
because
this.
They're horrible.
No. Right. No, you have to eat this. That's just how it is. But no. They would rather, create a problem.
I think you should.
Has the power of the dark light.
It's like all the guy knows is the dark side and the light side. It's all he knows. It's all he's going to shoot forever.
Find a thing that works for you and use it.
Well, yeah, I mean, no one actually took the time to learn anything about the Hindu religion when they made this movie, because there's so many things wrong with what happens later.
Oh my god!
Here's
the
one
good
of the
people
many
of Sri
shots.
Lanka were not served well.
We got he's echoing. I find that charming, and I think that it's the.
I think he was a cute kid. He's fine, and he was moderately funny given the role. But
well,
it's
again, this is Steven Spielberg. He knows how to put a kid into a movie and do the best you possibly can with a kid in a movie. That's his superpower, at least in the 80s.
That or you feed him to the shark. What do you do?
Sankawa.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
Musical swell, thing revealed, leading man doing his thing. Oh, then everything about this travel is the worst.
Yeah, this scene centers on Willie, and again, it's the zany sort of like, oh hey, you thought we had it at 10, but now we're going to turn it to 11 with the zaniness. We have a sequence here with Willie where she just goes hysterical over stuff while camping, and yeah.
I just love the "you cheat very big." Their little banter is just so cute. Like every adult has had an argument with a kid like that. Maybe not, quite with that dialogue choice. But yeah, she's confusing the elephant trunk for a snake, but of course it's a snake, which Indy doesn't even notice, which is fantastic because he actually would freak out.
Whoa.
All right, we're jumping. Now we got to see the castle.
I do kind of like the imperialist British colonel or whoever he is. I find him humorous.
Surprise.
Yep, just like Mom used to make.
Yeah, this is not Indian food.
No, nobody eats this stuff. This is all just xenophobic Asian.
Garbage.
Yeah, this is rough, man. And what's weird is it has very little to do with anything. It's just like stuck here. Well, okay, so my theory why it's here, it's gross out stuff to keep the kids interested, because you basically have like 3 minutes here of dialogue. You've got an expository, and you gotta talk about what's gotta happen, and the gross out food stuff is just there for shenanigans for
and
people who aren't talking.
Besides the pulling out of hearts, this is the part of the movie that I remembered.
For sure,
totally.
And I would think
there
that,
was
these are the two scenes that the PG-13 rating was created basically in the wake of this movie and a couple of, I think, Gremlins and a couple of other ones. Where they just were reaching for the bounds of PG. And those two sequences, this and the human sacrifice stuff and the heart stuff.
The other note was that on Wikipedia about the scene was that there was a line that was cut that was supposed to sort of inference that they don't actually eat this stuff, but this is supposed to be a gross out for the Westerners. It's supposed to just freak them out, but like it got cut. So, you're left with just, chilled monkey brains. How delicious.
This famous scene. I don't know that Nate is old enough to remember, but do you guys remember the series Faces of Death?
Yeah.
That you used to be able to get on VHS tape?
And people would like beat the monkey with a spoon.
Yeah, this was the famous scene from that. If you were of a certain age before you could go and look at horrible things on the internet, you had to rent the series Faces of Death from the video store, and they had famously a scene where people ate monkey brains.
I mean, it's very slapsticky. Again, she performs that role as well as any animated cartoon character would if you were doing this as an animated feature. She is clearly doing what the director wants. Don't like it.
Well, she eventually married him, so good.
So it
good
worked
for
out
them.
for her.
It shock you?
Nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist.
I love that. Nothing shocks me. This whole scene is another good example, I think, of just how good Spielberg is at staging a sequence like this. This is a kids movie, and there's a lot of really nice. There's so much stuff in here because there's a lot of stuff in here, like in terms of camera work and framing, that really make this scene actually decent.
Sexual practices.
So you're an authority in that area?
Years of field work.
I have.
So this was the 30s. Did they have cures for syphilis at this point? I guess they had penicillin. So, yeah.
So I just really like the camera work, the staging
As a
here.
scientist, I don't want to prejudice my experiment. I'll let you know in the morning.
It's a great line. She whips the first door open, talks to him with the door closed, and then for you to get your response for him, he whips the door open and on his way out. That's, I mean, I feel like a lot of movies that we see now, where they're like improv comedy stuff, where it's more like, let's just stand on a stage and record people saying things until we get a take that we like. They lack stuff like that. That's somebody thought about that. Somebody planned it. Probably somebody storyboarded it. I mean, that's nice. But we've talked about this. I think, Rob, if there's a difference between you and I's childhood, it's probably that you grew up like with the John Carpenter kind of movies, and I grew up with the George Lucas and Steven Spielberg movies.
Yeah.
I am 1 minute off. So the shadows. I was 2 seconds early on there. He's wrestling, and it's all
at least. This is the first historically sort of accurate thing in the movie where the thuggies actually tried to strangle him because that's what they were known for.
Notice there's you've got a really good shadow
right there
against the wall. This whole sequence, and through a lot of the second half of this movie, the shadows of the characters, the silhouettes are routinely used, but then I am really glad for two things. First of all, that in this palace in 1935, clearly in the middle of nowhere, they have an electric fan. But also, they remembered to drill it into a stud.
Yeah, no.
Otherwise, it would have gotten thrown off.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we enter the haunted house part of the movie. We've had the elephant ride, the weird food. Now we have the haunted house. Gross.
Oh no, crickets!
Yep, so scary.
His line before this is, "I step on fortune cookies."
Oh yeah.
Like, oh man.
They
like to gross out.
The accent stuff, I guess I can kind of look over, but the fortune cookie thing, it was like.
At least when he sat down to eat, he didn't ask for the number 15, right? They didn't quite go that far.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the question. When were fortune cookies even invented? Because that's isn't that an Americanized?
It's an Americanized Chinese thing.
And
there was
in the 40s and 50s when that
became
a thing.
It was a 99% invisible on the fortune cookie a while back, but yeah, it's not time appropriate and it's not like nationality appropriate, and it's just
wrong on every possible level.
Wrong. Just bad.
It's the first line that the writers threw at the wall, and they just kept it. I've made this comment many times, but in Star Wars, the best names sound like the first draft of the name, and the worst names are the first name.
Porkins.
I feel like in this, there's a lot of lines of dialogue where the first line of dialogue that they wrote is just the one they took. Good enough.
We are going to die.
I won't lie, I have said that with that delivery on many occasions in my life. We are going to die. I don't know.
He does it better.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, the thing I actually liked about this is when she finds the nerve to stick her hand in the bug and vermin covered hole to flip the switch in its incredibly inexplicable place.
Yep.
And it makes me wonder, did the early thuggy designers of this booby trap have, I don't know, it's just so ridiculous. Anyway, the point I wanted to point here was like, hey, so go ahead and play it. Have him grab his hat. Remember the much better movie of Indiana Jones where he did that? It's like, I'm like, oh, please don't call back to
I don't
a
think
better
anybody
movie.
time coded it, but they have the same gag with the gun. But it's the reverse of that later on.
With the swords.
Yeah. And I just would like to point out that they should have known that they were going to get stuck in booby traps, because you literally had to push the boobies of the statue in order to enter the booby trap haunted house.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a much better movie than I remember.
Right? Yeah. Don't worry. Pretty soon a dude's going to rip a dude's heart out, and the dude isn't going to die.
Yeah. Look at this, like, I'm a big mouth cave.
Yeah.
Right?
I did feel like this probably played pretty well with at least my memory of 80s satanic panic.
Oh, sure.
Where, it was all about Satan cults, and we're kind of in the revival of that with Adrenochrome. But
I mean, I fully lived in that, being a teenager who played Dungeons and Dragons and liked heavy metal music. But this escaped that because this is Hindu. So therefore, whatever.
Yeah, the thing I said here is
Christian
Hindu.
Satan.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. The thing that I kept on wanting to, and I don't want to foreshadow my pick for the next movie, which is not my turn today. But this made me remember Abe. I wanted Abe Vigoda to walk out and demand soda pop for the Waponi Woo. Sure. I was just like, give me Abe, right? So yeah.
Let's see, Waponi defense. Okay.
So this is.
So yeah, there he is.
He's probably the bad guy, I think. I'm just guessing here.
It's
remember Willie is the
bad guy.
Head, shrunken.
And he has a shrunken head for some reason. That isn't part of this culture. The whole fact that they rip out hearts, that's Mesoamerican. That isn't part of this culture. We'll get to something else that isn't part of this culture later.
And what animal is that supposed to be?
Perhaps the voodoo where they stick pins in dolls?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot to chew on, shall we say. So this is the second scariest thing in the movie for me, for 8-year-old me. The heart tearing out thing scared the crap out of me. Just to the core of my being. The fact that he doesn't die, why is that man not dead? And that it heals up with a pretty reasonable effect for 1984.
Also, the thuggies were like highwaymen. In fact, travelers loved them because they would protect them sometimes. They would murder and rich people and steal from caravans. They weren't involved with Kali worship, and Kali isn't even evil.
No. He's the god of poor cardiac health. So.
Light side and dark side.
Yeah.
If you mess with him, he gives you a heart attack.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's Indy's turn. We had 10 whole minutes of being shown what's going to happen to Indy, and now we have to see how Indy's going to thwart it.
I will admit, I always wanted to try a little of the dark blood and see if I could resist the mind control. I think I could.
Yeah.
I think I have enough experience.
Yeah.
I think I have enough experience in these sorts of things. Oh.
So,
voodoo doll.
Here's my problem with the voodoo doll. And I get it. It's not culturally appropriate for this place. I get all of that. Someone made the hat. Someone's we've got a guy, I get we're gonna need to make a voodoo doll. I get it, that, if your religion has that, in the context of this movie, somebody's no, we need to make a tiny hat, put it on his head, and then it's a voodoo doll. That's funny to me.
how you know it's indie. Otherwise,
could just be anyone.
Yeah, that could be any dude
that they're trying to murder.
It's not a good movie.
And then we have the mind control. Nothing's.
What I have to say about the mind control is the heart scene scared me a lot. The mind control scared me so much more. As a kid, the idea that this heroic person would be mind controlled, this really shook me up. And even today, or yesterday when I was watching through this, I still had I got a couple of shivers, like, that's Indiana Jones, but he's mind controlled. And it got me in a way that you just don't get. If I go watch any movie tomorrow, I'm not going to get that sensation. It's something that you get when you're a kid. And man, he's a good guy, but he's not. Freaked me out.
It just takes a little bit of fire to snap him out.
Yeah.
Well,
turns out
wasn't it fire
any sort of
on him by his
sensation?
Well, good thing they're not anywhere where there's fire or hot stuff.
Right?
Nope.
It's like the trope of aliens being hurt by salt water and then coming to Earth. Yeah. That's a pretty poor plan.
Turns out they're allergic to carbon monoxide. Who knew?
Surprise. Look at all those dummies. Basically from this moment on, basically to the rest of the movie, is the final sequence, the escape sequence. They've broken mind control, and Lucas has said this in interviews many times, but the only thing that Lucas really cares about in these movies is the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes. He's like, basically everything in the middle doesn't matter. Because all that happens is, does it get your butt in the chair, and do you talk about it to your friends afterwards? And those are the two sequences. So this is, I think, the beginning of that part of this movie.
It's an interesting take for a storyteller.
It's George Lucas, man. George Lucas is the guy who just says, stand in front of the camera and say the lines I tell you. You said them, cool. Cut. Next. This movie shows more than anything else how propped up by greater talents Lucas is.
Yep.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
I like that Chris chose that, and your note was just sigh.
It's just so...
Oh, but he can't actually fight him because he's got the voodoo doll.
That's right.
Voodoo is not in Sri Lanka or India, right?
No.
It's what we were talking about. It's, in fact, that voodoo doll really doesn't even exist in voodoo. That's an American thing, like like fortune cookies. But
Well, I think that's what he's going for, which is, whatever. It's a impression of an impression of an impression, I guess.
This is no space camp. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh wow, that's a low blow.
Didn't that have Kate Capshaw in it?
He pulls the knife out of the voodoo doll, and we get the fanfare, and then he throws a saw at him.
And this next scene, I really think should be an OSHA clip. If you go to 39. Yeah. Do not wear loose-fitting clothing around heavy machinery, guys.
Nope.
That's just a bad idea. Even though that little shawl could easily be discarded, he is toast.
See, my first thought was just no capes.
Yep.
And
no capes.
What bothered me the most is watching this as a kid is the mark is just too clean. I wanted chunks.
I know. It should have been
You want a little more gold.
a vast smear, Yeah, the only thing that I said with regards to the OSHA thing is, volcano fumes are really, really toxic.
Yeah,
so
they should be
no one comes out of that volcano hole alive.
Yeah.
This is the 80s. Well, this is 1935. I bet you can just go get N95 masks everywhere.
I also just want to point out that the Asian kid, if you play a couple seconds here. Okay.
Yep.
So he knows karate, I guess. And to this point in the movie, we're about 10 minutes before the end of the movie, did not in any way exhibit the fact that he can best, 5 or 6 adult men in combat.
Right. Men who outweigh him by 200 pounds.
Yep. With his martial arts skills.
Yep. It's all right. He knows this. It's a Unix system. I mean, it's the trope in the movie, right? The kid reveals a skill. It's a Spielberg thing. You reveal your skill. And this one just happens to be a little more offensive than most. Wait,
boy.
I should focus on the correct window if I'm going to try to change the timestamps here. That's going to work out better for all of us, I think.
So this apparently was actually filmed at Disneyland. So this is legit the whatever the mountain
Matterhorn?
minecart ride.
The Matterhorn?
No, it's not that one. They said it in the
Big
page.
Thunder Mountain.
Yeah, Thunder Mountain.
Big Thunder Mountain.
I did not know this.
Wow.
So yep, this is a roller coaster. It is not like a roller coaster. It is actually a roller coaster.
And
they didn't actually film it there.
Yeah, that's what they saw
Really?
on Wikipedia, at least.
Oh my goodness.
That's a good way to say
So
it.
I will point out that the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is a blast. It's a great roller coaster. But the Indiana Jones ride is not a good time. It like whips you around. It's really hard on you. It's caused like people have whiplash. I mean, especially when it first came out before they tweaked it. But yeah, it's really weird.
Now, what I'll tell you is that when I saw the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular at MGM Studios in Florida in 8th grade, I thought it was the greatest thing that could possibly be. But I think that was because the action sequences in that show were all derived from a much better Indiana Jones movie.
And this is the scariest part of the movie for me.
Okay.
That bridge is horrifying.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but I want to be really clear about something. So he was in the mine. He went on to the roller coaster. The roller coaster ostensibly went down most of the time. He came out on a rock wall face.
Yep.
Right. Meanwhile, this guy's behind him sending fire, water, disposable minions after him. Right. Anyway, so they climb up the mountain to get away and get to the bridge. Right. They get to the bridge. They are crossing the bridge. And who's across the bridge inexplicably, having gotten there in the time from when they set the water down till now? The geography does not make sense. Sorry. It was very upsetting.
The dude pulls hearts out of people.
Yeah.
I figure he can teleport.
That's not
too.
allowed
That's
either.
easy.
Maybe that's why he pulls hearts out of people. Is that's how he
Also,
gains teleportation
half
powers.
the people, half his minions are holding their guitars wrong.
What?
Bugs me. They fit on top of your knuckles. You punch with them. You don't hold them like a butcher knife. And let me just point out that these are American alligators, not murder crocodiles. So
That's probably the size of Big Thunder.
I know it's a small part in this ridiculous movie, but
well,
no, I think it's very valid.
In Far Away, they're literally just hand-drawn animated.
The effect here where he falls from the cliff at 148.35 is also sort of embarrassingly bad.
Yeah. Yep. It's like he really liked that sequence in Empire, and he thought maybe I'd do it a little better. So,
and who saves him? The white man. The British.
Good. There he is. So what I thought was this was my 10 thing. Oh, it's blue team. Because we've got red team and blue team. And I'm like, wait, was this entire thing a temporal pincer and Indiana Jones has been involved the whole time? It's sad that I'm not kidding. That's really, I've been spent a lot of time thinking about that. That is his heroic climb and his revealing of the Shankara stone.
Shankara.
That's great.
Yeah.
So now they got to travel home, and the thing that I wanted to note about this sequence is, as I said earlier, I watched this movie, I don't know, 50 times as a kid, you know, as you do when you only have 30 movies on a VHS tape. And it was not until I watched it today that I realized they're walking back through a lush green field. And I think to myself, the Shankara stone being taken away from the temple caused all of this lush green to sprout up in however long it took them to travel this journey. And it, as far as we know, it was only one night's journey to get there. So in 24 hours, all this greenery has come to the valley.
Well, so. They make a point earlier to say that when they took the stone, it killed all the crops.
Yep.
And all the animals died. So
sure.
And so it all came back magically because they're arriving with the Shankara stone right now.
I just am struggling to understand how all of these plants sprouted and flowered in 48 hours. That just seems like a lot.
The power of creation in Shiva.
That's true.
Hello.
That's
true.
Yeah,
and Kali, the cardiac god, is going to help all these old people live an extra 10 years now that they have their Sanka stone back.
No, Kali would kill them and then have them reborn because that's what she's the god of.
So
what's funny about this? The Mad magazine, after this movie came out, they had, like, you had VCR tapes. I remember the Mad magazine version or Cracked magazine version of this, and they were chasing a can of Sanka around. It was super bad. It wasn't good, but it was actually better than the movie.
So I just wanted to note, I mean, in terms of character arcs or whatever, at least she's trying to be polite now. She gave him a polite little bow. And the other thing that hit me watching this movie this time, and again, watched this movie as a kid so many times, but the kids come back and all the moms are happy. And like, as a kid, I never gave a crap about that. That's not something I pay attention to. But as an adult, I'm like, they did it. They brought back all those poor kids. And the village is saved.
Looks like STI-6000.
Just made me real happy. It's nice to look at a movie that you watched so long ago and see some stuff that ain't so hot anymore, but also like have different parts resonate with you because you care about different things in your 40s than you do when you're 8.
It's true.
I do agree with your last note here, Chris.
Yeah, no. So actually, he says as much. She's like, why did you not keep it? And he's like, oh, we'll just end up in some museum, right? And what I said. And so what I said is that if the British were involved in any way, shape, or form, every single valuable artifact would be in a wing of the British Museum at this point.
This has cultural significance.
We'll take that.
That's going to London.
We'll put it next to the Iranian guard statues. We'll put it next to the Elgin marbles. We'll protect it because you clearly can't.
So this movie definitely has fallen in my esteem a long ways. But I stand by the fact that the first 15... Yes, you are correct, Rob. This movie is on rails. This is literally like a video game. You are playing cutscenes. You are watching cutscenes. But I think that there's a lot of really tight action, especially that first 20 minutes. I think that really is really well edited, well done. Clap, clap, clap. Couple sad dudes in the middle of getting a divorce making the scariest movie that they're capable of making.
Wait, was Lucas getting a divorce too?
Yeah. This is made in the shadows of the, about his library and everything.
She probably read a draft of this.
No, you're not so far off. I bet you Amy Irving was like, why are you putting this woman so front and center? Is there something about her that is special? And then it turns out, there was something special about Kate Capshaw.
Indeed. Thanks for ruining this with me, guys. Nate, are you up next?
Sorry, pal. Yes,
I am, and I'm going to go back to the movies that I feel like I should have seen when they were released. So we're going to watch the 1990 Sam Raimi film Darkman.
Darkman, that's a great choice.
Delightful.
I haven't watched that movie since it was new. I'm excited to see it. All right. That's what we got, gentlemen. Let's say goodbye to Chris DeBona.
Goodbye, Chris DeBona.
Nate Osendorp.
Fairly well.
Rob Roseboom.
Yep, goodbye.
And I'm Commander Taco Maldo. That was Indiana Jones. Sorry.